Hello guys, Artsy Sophia here and welcome to my channel where I tell you creepy stories while creating art. Today's theme is Into the Woods. I usually go on long runs in the forest, mainly to be in tune with nature and to exercise. I've seen lots of wild animals, abandoned cabins, staircases and everything in between on my runs. But until a couple years ago, I found this piano deep in the forest. No head trail to it, drag mark or anything. It seemed like it appeared from nowhere. And this was super deep in the forest too. My reaction was that it looked beautiful and it was almost in perfect condition. I couldn't find any company name on it, so probably it was handmade. I really wanted to know the backstory to this piano and how it ended up here. It was just standing there under a birch tree and it was made out of wood. I tried playing it and funny enough, it was in perfect tune. I went back to it a couple times, 10 to a dozen times. It sounded so beautiful in the forest. The forest brought such a cool acoustics to it. I never really reacted to the fact that it was in good condition, as if someone was actively taking care of it. But one day, I swear I heard someone playing it too. When I arrived at the spot, no one was there. After that, I felt like somebody was watching me, and I actually never went back to it. But it wasn't until very recently that I heard stories about people finding abandoned pianos deep in the forest, all over the world, and they find them really, really deep in the forest too. The piano did look a bit cursed, but at the same time beautiful. I found this strangely disturbing old Swedish myth that if you ever find a piano in the woods, do not play it. If you play it, you'll come back to it again and again and again. You'll become obsessed. And the funny thing is, I've already played it like a dozen times, so I guess I am obsessed. What's weirding me out is that this piano only looks abandoned. I really felt like someone was there with me when I was playing it. I live deep in the mountains and my house is surrounded by wood. There is a little spot you can walk into the woods, which is just a giant circle with trees open all around it. Me and my friend went to have a picnic there that day and started hearing this flute really loud coming from the direction where there are no houses. It sounded like a woodwind of some sort, very spiritual sounding. Mind you, all my neighbours were old, and I can guarantee none of them spent their time walking deep in the woods playing a flute. We heard this for hours. We left about 8 at night, and when we walked back, you could hear it somewhat across the valley. I didn't hear it again for a good 2 years after. But one night I woke up at 3 a.m. and my bed was right next to the window, and I had it cracked to let in some fresh air while I slept. I woke up to the sound coming right outside my window, and I was worried to look out to see what it was. It went on for about an hour before it stopped playing, and I never heard it again. I have seen hundreds of these things at night in the woods in the rural areas around Memphis. Starting around 2020, they are tall humanoid creatures with blacked out eyes, and they move really slowly and in strange jerky movement. First time I saw them, I was visiting a veteran friend of mine who was down on his luck. About midnight on Thanksgiving Day in 2020. He had been living in a run-down camper vehicle at the edge of the woods on his brother's property. Between his camper and the tree line there was the remains of an old trailer that had been destroyed by a tornado with a streetlight on top of a pole that was used to run electricity to the destroyed mobile home. On the other side of the pole was approximately 15 yards of a field on an old dirt road that split in half with tall grass and a bush at the edge. I thought there were people hiding at first, as they seemed to be grouping more in the darker areas where the light from the pole was not as bright. I asked my friend about them, and he shrugged it off and said that they were always there and that they didn't bother him. He also told me that no matter what you did, that you couldn't get close to one. So being a combat veteran, 2 deployments under my belt, and my personal firearm from my vehicle, I attempted to approach these things. As I got closer, I noticed that they were solid white creatures with solid black eye sockets that moved in a jerky but very slow manner. There had to be 15 or more in that field, down the dirt road and at the edge of the tree line and beyond. Determined to fuck around and find out, I continued to walk towards them. All of a sudden, they all looked at me with black, empty-looking sockets and instantly caused me to feel fear more than I ever have in my entire life. I did not approach them that night. I turned away and got out of that area and took my buddy with me. Since that first time, I've seen them about 12 times, always at night and around wooded areas at different locations. I have since tried to run and catch them and failed because the creature simply disappeared the moment I got close. The moment I got close, within 5 to 10 yards, I lost direct eye contact. It's like they can phase in and out of our reality. If you get in close, you can see that the weird jerky movement is parts of them, arms, legs, heads, disappearing and then reappearing in a different position. I think they disappear anytime they move, so they can't be seen if they walk. These things do make audible noise that can be recorded, but do not show up on video from a cell phone or a camera recorder. Animals also see them. However, I have tried to show them to people, and only about half of those I have shown have seen them. I have wondered if I'm losing my mind, and if anyone else has seen them and or tried other experiments with them. I have searched all over the internet and only found a few cryptid creatures that share 1 or 2 similar things to them, but nothing that is close enough for me to be satisfied. The only thing that was really close was the origin of white zombies. There's been a few people tell me this shape-shifting creature. They don't change or bleed, they seem to be different sizes, some larger, some smaller, and they group up in what I have called family groups, 4 to 5 of them, with usually 2 taller ones or 2 smaller ones. Please tell me if you know or have any ideas on what they could be. Let me know in the comments below. When I was a very young girl, 5 years old, I had an outdoor cat I was playing with. She stood at the edge of the woods staring at me. So I would go and try to hug her and end up following her. So I'm following her for a ways when I look around and realize I have no idea where I am. In the middle of the woods. So being a small child, I just start crying. I laid down on the ground in that 5-year-old dramatic fashion, and I was so distraught when all of a sudden I heard a voice say, "Listen for the road." I was quite startled and looked around for the person who said this, but as I listened, I heard the sound of a car and I followed it and ended up almost half a mile from my house. I've only ever had a couple other unusual things happen in my life, but that one I remember so well. My mother told me I must have had a guardian angel. However, I used to think my tree friend, yeah, I had a friend who was in a tree, sent me help to find my way home. I just always wanted to share my experience with people who believe I wasn't just making things up. I'm an 18-year-old guy. I started having sightings, which I strongly believe are due to the Fae. I recently learned about them, read stories, and many things seem to add up to them. I don't know if they are attracted to me, or I can somehow see through the thing they tried to hide behind for a while. So the way this works is that usually I see them for a couple of seconds, and then they are suddenly gone. I'm not a sufferer of any kind of mental illness, and the creatures are not something that I could make up in my own mind. I'm not that creative. There are some creatures that I've seen many times. I live in an area that is surrounded by a forest, and on an autumn day I was hiking in the wood, and behind my backyard on a hill I saw a little creature wearing a dark cloak with collars that seemed to be made of fallen leaves, and its head seemed like the skull of a bird. I don't think it showed itself intentionally, because it started running and then it was gone. The reason this memory freaks me out is that it was a windless day, and for a few seconds I saw the leaves were moving as if something had run away. I saw this creature a second time. It was the same creature. Out of curiosity, I hiked there again the next day, but this time it was really huge, and it felt like it was warning me about its territory. So I turned back and went home and avoided the area. My second one, which is pretty common to see, are these little people who seem like a mix between some kind of rodent and a human. They walk into my house and they never seem hostile, maybe grumpy. I believe that they are brownies or some type of house spirits. These are the ones that I would like to talk about and the ones that I am more curious about. What do you think about it? I'm still not sure. Right guys, thank you for reaching the end of this video. A special thanks to the Reddit users that allowed me to share their stories, and be sure to like, subscribe and press the notification bell for more of my content, and have a great day.